What's going on, guys? Today we're looking at a Russian design knife. I believe these are made in China, but it is a Russian company, Daggerr, D-A-G-G-E-R-R. I've showed different models from this company before, and this is their knife, the Bigger. Not even the, just Bigger. That's the name of this knife. Which, yeah, it's a bigger knife than their other ones. Their Urban is pretty cool. They have a couple different generations. What I like about it the most is that they keep making it better. They start off with a knife which was okay. It was a fun design with that arrowhead, blade, and then they just progressively made it better and better and better. So this is the first generation, I'm going to say, on this. Hopefully they change some things and take people's critiques on the design and change it into something better. So it could be the bigger and better next time. But anyway, I love this knife and I hate this knife. There's a lot that I like about it. I love that it's big. I like big knives. So here's a comparison with some other biggies. This is a SOG Pentagon Elite II. Is that right? Yes, Pentagon Elite II. That's a big one. Of course, gotta whip out a cold steel, right? This is the Voyager XL. That's a big boy. And just because I have it in my pocket for size comparison, the K-Bar Warthog. All right, so this is more of your normal, EDC knife. So yeah, it's a big one. So yeah, because of that, I like it. I like big knives. However, once you start using the knife, I've come up with a couple different issues and concerns and stuff. But before we get into that, let's go over some specs on this. The blade is 5.2 inches long. It is in D2. You can see from the light shining across that grind, it is hollow ground. All right, so D2 marked on the back. Very interesting blade shape as well. The whole blade kind of goes up a little bit in comparison to the handle before it comes back down. And even though we have a completely straight edge, it's not in line, with the handle. It's kind of cocked up a little bit. But anyway, closed 6.1 inches, so it is fairly large in the pocket, making it 11.5 inches overall. I was looking for a thumb stud, which doesn't exist. I don't know why. And this thing weighs 7.7 ounces. It is a liner lock. You can see there's red liners on this, which is pretty cool. A little bit different, but there's no lightning holes or skeletonization or anything like that at all. Just two standoffs here. All right, the liner lock actually locks up perfect. There is no blade play in any direction at all. All right, because of that oversized jimping, it's very easy to get to. You can see the centering on this is very good as well. Not 100%, but close enough. Doesn't rub or anything like that. There is a fairly weak detent on this. It almost feels magnetic. I know it's not. It's just it's not a super heavy detent. It's very, very light. It is super smooth, as you can see. I mean, it will just kind of fall on its own. Little tiny little flipper on here, which I don't like. It's kind of undersized and it's a little slick. My big issue with the whole knife is that the entire handle here is just too smooth. It's anodized aluminum, and it's just very, very smooth. It almost, what this feels like exactly? Feels like a Teflon coated frying pan. All right, so go in your kitchen. I'm sure you guys have one somewhere. Break out the Teflon coated cookware and just rub it. That's what this feels like. It's just so smooth. And you know me, I don't really care about jimping. I oftentimes will actually go out of my way to say that the jimping doesn't really add much to some knife designs. Others, yeah, this is one of those designs that can certainly use some. There's just nothing. It's just super smooth. All right, except for, of course, that liner lock, which bites nicely in your hand. All right, it's just very easy to get. As soon as you touch that, it grips, and it's easy to disengage that lock. But this is one of those designs where I would have liked a little bit of jimping on the spine there, possibly on the handle, just because it's such a large knife. Also, speaking of ergonomics here, you can see it slenders down on the middle. So if you just focus here, my four fingers get a nice grip on there. If I have a natural grip like this, it is super comfortable, and I actually have some control on the knife. Okay, even though it's slick, it's okay because this flares out and my hand's not going to travel down very easily or up. Even though this doesn't really act as a guard, that's where it ends up. It's not going to prevent your hand from slipping forward at all. But I do have enough grip here where I'm totally not concerned, even if my hands were wet. But if you choke down on the knife, you can see this flares out and then comes back to more of a point. This gives you kind of a big, not really round, but kind of a girthy, chunky part of the knife to hold on to. So if you want to choke back on it, it's still comfortable. Here's my issue with it, is my hand doesn't naturally land up here where it's comfortable or down here where it's comfortable. When I open the knife and take it out of my pocket, it's kind of right in the middle of both of those zones. So my pinky's kind of uncomfortable. It's way too fat over here to kind of hold. It's just one of those things. I just naturally, grab the knife, and I have to purposely either choke down on it, which I usually don't. That would be fine for some kind of self-defense situation, which I'm not using this for. What I have to do is kind of purposely choke up on it, okay, just like this. And then it's comfortable, or get a natural grip on it. Yeah, I mean, as far as big knives go, obviously I have, different preferences. The cold steel I just showed and the SOG are way more comfortable for a bigger knife. Normally I wouldn't care that much as far as the lack of grip if it was smaller and it had more design features on the handle that locked it into my hand. But because this is larger, you automatically assume when you have a knife with a 5+ inch blade that you're going to be using it for harder cutting tasks. This is not what you're going to go to open an envelope. You know what I'm saying? This is supposed to be, at least in my opinion, for harder cutting chores, because you have such a big blade that you want it to be capable. Like the cold steel, nice strong lock back. You can use this for much harder cutting tasks, all right, where you need some reach. Even the SOG with that arc lock, I feel, is strong enough to use for a little bit harder. So yeah, that's what's lacking here. Is it's just a little bit too smooth. My hand doesn't naturally grab either of those comfort zones, I would call them. All right, I have to go out of my way to do that. Besides that, I mean, everything else is okay. It's just, I use this like a regular folder. I EDC'd this a couple times. I use it around the house a little bit. It slices okay. It comes nice and sharp. That D2 is totally fine. Overall, it's just one of those knives where I don't really know what to do with. When I carried this, I used it like a regular folder. Even though it had so much more capability, I just wasn't comfortable using it for hard use, But it is super smooth, all right, in closing and opening, like I said. Because that detent is so weak, like it's not going to shake out easily, but it will shake out. All right, so I pull the camera back a little bit because I want to show you this. The detent, it's weak enough where you can flip this out without manipulating the flipper or touching the blade. It's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, it's convenient. If you shake it a little bit, it's not going to open, but I'm telling you, if you give it a quick little whip, it does overcome that bearing and detent, so the blade wants to open. Obviously, in a downward force like this, you use the gravity to open it and swing it completely open and locked. All right, so just like some of the larger cold steel knives you could do this with. And by the way, I use the pocket clip as a brace because it is so slick. All right, if I took the pocket clip off this knife, it'd probably fly out of my hands, to be honest. But kind of grip onto that pocket clip, and I'm just going to whip down real quick. I'm going to lift off table so I don't hit the table, but just a quick little whip, and it flies right open. All right, so if you pull this out of the pocket, do a little flick of the wrist, and the thing's open and locked and ready for action. Like I said, not necessarily a positive thing, because I think more people than not would want just a little bit of a stronger detent. Now, while we're looking at the back of this knife, we could take a look at the pocket clip. Okay, obviously, because it's such a smooth surface, carries very nicely. There's enough tension on the spring clip, and obviously it has a little skull theme going on with the red and black. It's pretty cool if you're into that kind of stuff. As you notice, there is no lanyard hole. Okay, I wouldn't recommend using this last post as a lanyard either. I mean, I've seen that sometimes where knives that don't have lanyard holes or use the standoff and wrap cord around there, but this tip comes close enough to it where it would probably wear and eventually cut that off. But it carries pretty deeply. I mean, it's a very large knife, but that's all that's sticking up. And with the lack of the, lanyard hole for some kind of a lanyard for grip, it might be a little bit harder for some people to get out. Didn't really have a problem. I did have to pinch the pocket clip to pull out. But again, since it's such a slick surface here, it wasn't really an issue. If you had an aggressive G10 or something and not much to grab onto, pinching the clip might actually make it harder to pull out, but it was totally fine. So it's easy to carry, I'll say. And as you can see, obviously it is tip up, all right, but that's your only option. No tip down, and which most people don't care about, but no reversal to left side carry. All right, this is part of their black wash series. The finish on here is kind of a black stone wash, if you didn't already catch that. Pretty interesting knife. I do like it. It's just there's a lot of physical drawbacks to actually carrying it and using it. As far as a collectible or just kind of a fun knife, something different. You know, like I said, you and your friends are into your knives, and someone pulls out a Benchmade Griptilian or something. And, the guy's got a paramilitary too. Just the common knives. Maybe someone's got a little Kershaw or something on them. You break out this thing, no one else is going to have this. All right, at least it's not going to be common. So that's what I like about it. It's a little bit different. And there's a good chance that even most knife people, probably don't even know about the brand. It is a little bit of a boutique type thing. I've talked about their knives before, but it's not like, huge in the industry or anything. So I like it because it's different. But from a functional standpoint, there's a lot going against this knife. Being so slick, you don't want to use that extra blade length for much because you don't have the confidence of a good grip. You know what I mean? So that's where the downside is, unfortunately. But I think it's priced right for $64. There is definitely a novelty factor here. Obviously not going to be your go-to choice for, an everyday user or anything, but pretty cool. And if you're like me and you have a collection of biggins, it's a nice addition to the company to get a different brand out there instead of having, 40 different cold steel knives. It's nice when you see other companies making, big, huge folders. So I have a lot of confidence in this company in making future versions of this knife that are better for function. Maybe a slightly different design, maybe different blade shapes or different handle configurations, but it's really cool seeing another company making a big old folder. And that's what this is, a big old folder. So you guys let me know down below in the comment section, have you ever heard of this company? And is there anyone out there that has this exact knife? And that was my point from earlier, is that it's a little bit, well, I shouldn't say a little bit, it's a lot less common. So anyway, just another option if you guys are fans of the massive folders. And when I say massive, anything that has a 5-inch blade or larger that folds, that's a massive folding knife, okay? When the average is 3 to 4 inches, that's big to me. But out of the 3 options that I'm looking at right now, I'd go with the cold steel. And then if that wasn't available, I'd go with the SOG. Unfortunately, the Daggerr, I just don't have the confidence. If I'm going to use a big blade like this, I want a very comfortable handle. I want a secure grip on there, and I want a really good lock. Now, I've never really had much of a problem with liner locks, but given the other options here between the arc and the lock back, I would prefer those. I do have confidence in this company. Like I said before, seeing the Urban knife go through a couple different facelifts and get better and better with time, I kind of have a feeling that they're going to come out with a new version of this or a slightly different model that's large like this, because I do love the big knife. I just like to see a couple of these issues fixed with a different model, or maybe just some upgrades to this one in the future. So that's all. Let me know down in the comment section if you've heard of Daggerr knives, Daggerr, from Russia, and if you happen to own one. More specifically, does anyone watching this video have one of these in their hand right now? I'm gonna guess not very likely. And that's one of the reasons why it's exciting to do videos like this. Again, exposing more knives out there, good or bad, to more people to decide for themselves. So that's all. That is my video on the Daggerr Bigger. I wonder if they do change this, what the name's gonna change to. It could be bigger and better. So thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you tomorrow with another one. Take care.